Carolina Panthers fans, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about some of the things that happened in day 2, the second practice of the Carolina Panthers training camp, and it was very interesting. You know, I think day 1 we came out hitting on all cylinders, Bryce Young throwing absolute darts to the receivers, and in the second day we had some of those pauses, we had some of those lulls in the offense, as Frank Reich would like to allude to. And you know, I'm not going to sit here and overhype a lot of that. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, this is the end of the world, Bryce Young is a bust, he had one good day. There's ups and downs in practice, there's ups and downs in training camps, and he's a rookie. We have to understand, but I do think it's very funny, you know, now that he's named officially QB1 for this team. Before we got into this process, he was like, oh, we're going to be meticulous in this process. We're going to look and we're going to execute our X's and O's, and we're going to decide by the season start. Andy Dalton, he's a veteran in the room. He has every right to, you know, have some control in this room. No, he didn't. Andy Dalton was never going to be the starter for this team. You drafted the #1 guy. You got the best quarterback in this draft, and that is Bryce Young. Now, I've seen some comments and things talking about his height. I don't see how we're not really past that point just yet because, I mean, it doesn't really matter. And when I look at what's going on now, some of the biggest things that we look at is Camu Grugier-Hill, CJ Henderson, getting 2 interceptions from both of those guys. And looking at what really I want to talk about, and some of the things that I saw is that when I talked about this linebacker position, I wanted to know, would Camu Grugier-Hill be that guy? It's kind of that third linebacker, but also kind of the second linebacker, because we know with Frankie Louvu, he's a guy who's all around the football field. So when we're moving around Frankie Louvu, when we want to send him on these stunts and these blitzes, or sometimes line him up in that 5 tech and just let him go hunt. Now Camu Grugier-Hill, he's making plays in training camp. Like I said, don't want to jump too much into this because we're not padded up with these guys just yet. I want to see the real football. When we're hitting guys, when we got to make a real play. Now, I do like some of the things in 11-on-11, 7-on-7. And, you know, contrary to what Bryce Young's day was for the offense, you know, Miles Sanders also had a fumble. But what I want to look at is he had a big-time completion to DJ Chark, had a big-time completion to Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo, one of the guys I talked about, he's physically imposing. And when I get to the Carolina Panthers training camp, that's one of the guys I'm going to have eyes on. One of the guys, I just want to see how's he built. You know, as far as looking at him in person, also Bryce Young, but that's a guy who's going to get physical in a route tree, yards after the catch. And some of the things we're seeing as we ramp up into training camp, he's getting more of those opportunities. And he's one of those guys out of Ole Miss. And it's funny to make the comparison, but think about A.J. Brown. I'm not saying he's A.J. Brown because he has a lot to do, but thinking about those bigger body receivers, even DK Metcalf. Now, DK Metcalf is a freak, but thinking about a bigger bodied receiver, physical, can run. This is a guy who ran 4.4. So all of that combined into one. And, you know, they were very high on him. And one of the guys I saw as we got closer into the draft process, he was rising and rising and rising into that second round and got drafted very early there. So what I just really wanted to touch on for today, and CJ Henderson, trying to prove himself after a down season. And when I talked about him in a video that I made, you know, a lot of people said, CJ Henderson, are you so sure about this guy? And I mean, I think it's a lot of talent there. And if he continues to make plays, getting interceptions like he did today, we want to see some of those things in, you know, joint practices and in the regular season. But we want to see it now as well to kind of give us that sense and comfort in saying, okay, another year into the scheme, getting more comfortable. Like I said, we're not jumping too much onto this just yet, but a good day to see that out of him, a good day to see that out of Camu Grugier-Hill. Bryce Young, I'm okay with it. I still believe in his process, and really with the interception that he threw, because I read up on it, it was a stick route. We know in one of the plays I want to talk about, I don't know if you guys have seen this being Carolina Panthers fans, but the New York Giants, Daniel Jones threw an interception on a stick route, and it's really those stick routes and kind of sometimes an option route depending on what the coverage is, but we want to see, are we turning out of this route? Are we running out of this route? What are we doing right here? Do we want to sit down? And like I said, that's some of the things where we play defense. Okay, we were here last year. We brought back a lot of players on defense. We can come out, you know, Shaq Thompson can fly around. Frankie Louvu can fly around. J.C. Horn, all of these guys can fly around. But the offense, it's a lot of new pieces, a lot of new faces. And it's not really just a plug and play situation like that. So understanding where it was more of a mental thing and kind of a miscommunication. That's what we want to see. It wasn't as far as just a terrible read. Bryce Young can't throw the football. It wasn't that type of party. And the last thing I want to touch on before we get out of here, that cornerback room. I want to see some guys continue to step up. And like I said, CJ Henderson, my eyes are on him because, you know, Dante Jackson and JC Horn are getting a lot of the workload right now. And I just want to know when we get into the season, and I expect the starters to start. I truly do. But I want to know if something happens, because JC Horn got hurt last year. If something happens, who's our depth? Who can be that slot corner to kick it? Now, Jeremy Chin, another guy, along with Von Bell, along with Xavier Woods. We got guys in that secondary. But I want to see now having the depth and that true corner position. That's what my eyes are on. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Training camp, Carolina Panthers are hitting the field. I'll be there soon.